Hi everyone, and welcome to this third Dev Diary. Today is, and it is not June 7th. It is actually June 21st. So today we've got three things to go through, and a really big focus on trends, because this is going to be the key bits of information that are really going to help drive more effective strategies using this tool. So I wanted to show a bit behind the scenes on how I've been working around automating some trend scanning processes, the new UI for trends, and then how I've been able to integrate trends into a chat experience. So let's talk a little bit about how the trend scanning works. And for those who have worked with trend scans from futurist organizations, usually they come in the form of a PDF or something like that, or a long document, and you can go through and read those and kind of get your own information from them. I find that it's a bit cumbersome to work with, and you tend to have quite a large set of information you need to categorize and kind of put into a repository somewhere so that you can easily retrieve it. So that's one thing that we're trying to develop. The other thing is that these trend scans can become out of date, and they can also be really hard to find new ones that are out there. So I wanted to automate some of that process. So the way that works is I've defined a set of trend categories, and using that set of trend categories, there's some keywords that I've also created. We then feed that into a Google search API, and that API returns search results. So it's just like how you would be typing it into the Google console, but this is happening behind the scenes through an API. Then use some AI tooling to extract the trends and create insights, and then use an AI to generate trends based on those insights that were extracted from the Google searches. So it's a little bit different than going to something like ChatGPT and asking it for trends. There's a few problems with that approach. Firstly, that the large language models themselves have a training date cutoff. So currently, I think it's around January 2024. They're continuously adding more information. But the other problem is more of a fundamental issue, is that large language models are not databases. They're not repositories of information. They are reasoning engines. And that's actually the fundamental approach that or fundamental mistake that most people make when using this technology. They try to treat it as a database. So they try to ask it for a fact. And then they get frustrated when it generates content that has some words that are right and some words that are wrong, because that's what these tools do. They generate content. So instead of doing that, what we're able to do is actually get the facts from things like using a traditional Google search. So going to find other reputable sources for information, in this case, other trend scans, summarize that information and extracting the trends and insights from that information. That's something that LLMs can do exceptionally well. And then the last step there around generating a trend from that, that's probably arguable. I think it's looking really good, but I think time will tell. And so I'll just give you a quick view of what this middle step of that looks like. So for this example, we've looked through and we're looking at tech disruption in AI and machine learning. And this is what this summarization of other trend scans look like. So you can say McKinsey has written its trends outlook for 2023. We've extracted that information and pulled into this document a whole range of these summaries. And so there's a whole bunch there because we're looking across a range of different keywords. Because again, what we're trying to do is sample what's out there in terms of information. That then gets processed through another AI, and then that gets created into a trend. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. But I also wanted to just briefly touch on the architecture for trends within Portage. And because I think that there's probably some things to point out. First of all, what we're looking at today is just trends, because that's probably the easiest thing that is also most tangible for people to understand. Megatrends, those would be like the 5 or 10 big things that are happening. So, for example, climate change, the impact of AI, changing demographics, so an aging population. Those are megatrends. And in fact, the large language models have enough information about those megatrends to actually provide insights about them. So I find that it's not actually that critical to work on right now. And then at the bottom of this trend architecture are assessments. And you can see where we're targeting that more towards the organization or team. So whereas the megatrends would apply for everyone and some trends, I'm leaving the door open to have some add-on or some premium trends. Some people may not be comfortable with AI generated trends, or we may want to source trends from other futurist organizations. There could be some sort of compensation involved in that, so there might need to be a premium applied. But I did want to also point out in this lower area here around assessments, because there might be things that are influential to a strategy or into scenario planning or to whatever that are very specific about the organization. So it could be things like balance sheets, P&Ls, customer surveys, other types of information that you may want to use in strategic planning doesn't fit in the trend and megatrend space. And it's also something that you'd want to keep private to your organization. So that architecture gives us kind of 3 different buckets to put information in. And then that applies to the outputs of the strategy design platform, which is around generating trend reports, scenarios, and then using it in a chat where you're able to then have a bit of a back and forth with an AI to better understand what the impact of these things are. So yeah, like I said, today we're just having a look at trends, and we'll be looking at them in chat. So let's just hop over to, we'll just go back to the home page here, which I'm still working on. It's not much to look at there. But if we go into the trends section, and I'm just going to make myself a little bit smaller and put me over there so you can see, we've got a whole stack of trends. Now these are all the auto-generated ones, and the purpose of doing it right now was really just to get the user interface, get the database working properly, which we can then iterate on the trends and provide a little bit more curation and a little bit more research to strengthen what these are. So we're able to do a couple things on this page. We can filter by domain, so climate or geopolitical trends. And you notice that I haven't used the traditional domains around something like pestle or steep or whatever. So that might be something like political, environmental, social, technological, legal, and economic. The reason why I've chosen to use different domains is that I find that those more traditional ones are not that approachable for people who are not full-time strategic planners. They tend to not think that way. And I think also what the purpose of this platform is to help develop strategic planning. It's not necessarily a strictly foresight tool. So I think having something that's a little bit more approachable for the end user is the right way to go. And I've picked out the 5 categories that I think are most impactful, and that's climate and sustainability, geopolitical trends, leadership and agility, social and cultural shifts, and technology disruption. So we can filter by each of those categories. We can also do a search. So we can also look for example, climate change, and do a search. Now what's interesting is this search is a what's called a semantic search, or it's a search by meaning. So if we have a look at this last result here, clean energy transition, it actually doesn't actually say climate change anywhere in the text, but what this search has done is understood when I say the word climate change, I actually mean things related to climate change as well. So I'll just clear those ones. So let's have a look at what a trend itself looks like. And you can see that it's got a call out that this is a trending trend, which means it's gathering momentum. Some trends, for example, are peaking so that they're at maximum impact. Other ones are declining, or perhaps they're emerging, so they're new trends. We've got a nice description, some indicators, opportunities, risks and challenges, potential impacts, and predictions and forecasts. And I think most importantly is that we're listing the sources for where this information came from. In the future, I'd like to add some functionality beneath the trend to explore other related trends, but this is just where we are today. So we can go back to trends and you can then have a look at other things. A lot of these trends, because they're actually sourcing other trend reports, they sort of lack, if you have a look at traditional Foresight trend reports, they're really highly edited. They usually have quite a good or quite an interesting, naming convention or kind of catchy kind of names. The AI, because this is all AI generated, it's not really doing that right now, which is again why I wanted to leave the door open to be sourcing trends from other locations, because I think that's important. But these are certainly a really good start, and there was some interesting ones that I wanted to point out. So for example, this one here was news to me, and it is about the fact that the wellness market is splitting into hard care, which is technology or physical technology things, or soft care, which is usually software based, which was an interesting split that I didn't know about. And I guess the point of saying that is that even though this is an automated process, it's still able to find interesting trends that are new. So the trends are really great, and this is where other trend platforms that are out there kind of end. They have different ways of mapping them and different ways of showing them, which we could certainly build. But I think what's more interesting is actually getting involved in unpacking these trends and how do they impact things. So what's really, really interesting is the ability for generative AI to work in the chat kind of user interface paradigm where you could go back and forth, but also its ability to analyze a large set of information very quickly. So for example, what we can do is have a look here at our future roadmap. So what I should do actually is show you what the strategic profile is. Now I know a lot about aged care, so I've put some information in here just because it's very familiar for me, but you can see I've put in some strategic goals, some challenges, some internal factors, external factors, and so on. So I've got a relatively lightweight profile there. If I was doing this properly, there would be a lot more information in each section, but I just wanted to do something really brief. So let's go back here and we'll pick, for example, future roadmap exploration. And you'll notice that there's a few things. One, I've removed the add-ons because these are all happening behind the scenes. And we've also added Google in, and we've tightened up a few of the prompts for the personalities. I still prefer to use the base one for examples just because it's kind of the simplest one. So let's start a chat with this prompt. Now behind the scenes, what's going to happen is the AI is going to detect, based on what I've asked it to do, that I want to develop a speculative roadmap for my organization. It's going to detect that and it's going to say, in order to do that, I need to have some trends. And so you can see there quite briefly it said I'm going to search for some trends. And what it's done is it's looked at the trend database, looked for things related to my organization. So it knows that one of my strategic challenges was regulatory changes. So it's how to look for that. And you can see it's pulled back a few things. Now these trends don't have the aged care trends. We haven't got to that level of detail yet. But this is, again, really just putting the technology infrastructure in place so that we can then expand the scope of the trends. But what I can do is actually click in and have a look at these trends. So I've brought the trend data directly into the chat, and I can start to have a chat here and say, like, how might these trends impact my organization? And you can see it can use my strategic profile and these trends to start developing some strategic insights. So you can see I've asked it before, all the way at the beginning, develop a speculative roadmap. And right at the bottom, it's now using the trends plus my strategic information to develop a roadmap. So I think that that's got to a pretty good spot. The next steps for me are to actually start working on the boards, which are a way of stepping through strategic planning process in a visual way, bringing in things like trends, and having a user interface which helps you develop that strategy. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again in a couple weeks.